These things have been talked about and planned for many decades and really more generations. And here again, I think if you look at this idea, these ideas that are coming out from the World Economic Forum, from the UN, things like Agenda 21, the Great Reset, if you really stop and look what lies behind it, what is the spirit that lies behind this? What is the kind of thinking that generates these ideas? You look at those videos that were put out by the World Economic Forum, showing streets empty of people and saying, "Oh, isn't this wonderful? There's, no pollution, there's no carbon, there's no people." And people on Twitter are looking at this saying, "What is he talking about? This is horrible." He's showing, empty cities, no business, no commerce, no pedestrians. What we're seeing there, I think, is the difference between an aristocratic view of the world and a sort of hardworking middle-class view. The hardworking middle-class person wants to see a bustling city with stores open, people working, earning a living, and just doing the normal things of life. But there's a class of people who have never forgotten the way they used to live, where they owned all the land, all of it. Anybody who lived on their land was a serf, a slave. They're basically their property, who could be treated any way they wanted them to. And they could be herded like just some form of livestock. And if there were too many of them, there were ways to get rid of them. One way is just send them all off to fight in a war, which you had the right to do as a great landlord in an aristocratic society. And so I think here, once again, when we see these weird videos saying, "Oh, look how wonderful, a city with no people in it," what we're seeing is something that is fundamentally not an American way of looking at things. It's just not in our psyche. This is in the psyche of European landed aristocracy. The idea that they are the chosen few and everyone else is a serf. And if there's too many serfs, it's just annoying and something must be done about it. And that's the only way I can explain this sort of thinking. They come out with all kinds of scientific studies saying, "Well, we have too many people, it's not sustainable, blah, blah, blah." And look, I'm not dismissing the concept of overpopulation. Some people completely dismiss it, but obviously, there are limits to the population a certain area can sustain. But the kinds of depopulation that are being talked about, the kind of downsizing of our whole civilization, coupled with the destruction of small business, the destruction of the middle class, it's very clear that what we see here is an aristocratic agenda. It's an effort to eliminate this pesky thing called the middle class that somehow emerged in the last part of the Middle Ages, much to the annoyance of the great landlords and the great landed aristocracy. And I just think they want to get their prerogative back. They want to get back that power where basically a small group of families owns everything. That's why they're saying you're not going to own anything, but you'll be happy, just like our serfs used to be happy. We fed them, we gave them something to do, gave them work, and we gave them shelter, and you'll be fine as a serf. I don't think most Americans think this way, even rich ones. I think you have to, and again, it's not because we're angelic or perfect, but our national experience didn't cause us to think that way. We're a frontier society. We're used to having a lot of room, and we just don't. We don't have that nostalgia for feudalism. Now, there may be Americans who, because of their family history and their intermarriages with European families, and for other reasons, indoctrination, acculturation, have been educated on how to think like a landed aristocrat. And I'm sure we've had those people from the very beginning, of course. But it's not fundamentally an American way of looking at things. And so I don't mean to keep beating the dead horse. I'm not reflexively apologetic for everything Americans do. I understand we're far from perfect. I get it. But when I look at these evil agendas of globalism and depopulation and the deliberate infliction of financial hardship and chaos on billions of people, I see something it's much more British than it is American. It's the British who have a long history and experience of engineering massive numbers, engineering society, and affecting massive numbers of people through these kinds of operations. I just don't think that Americans don't have the experience. We don't have that in our culture unless somebody teaches it to us from the outside. I guess that's what I'm saying. That what we're seeing is a deep, deep knowledge of human nature, of economics, of what we now call behavioral economics, of how people en masse will behave if you fine-tune the economy this way and that. You don't just learn that overnight. You don't learn that because some smart college kid in a think tank wrote a paper and said, gee, look, we can manipulate the whole world by having depressions and hyperinflation. These ideas don't just come from one person. These are generational ideas that are learned through centuries and centuries of wielding the scepter of imperium. And that's why I think that Americans and really all people need to start studying this subject of empire. A few years back, during the war on terror, the invasion of Iraq, all that stuff that was going on,